Hey guys, how you doing? Today's update comes courtesy of a new follower on my Instagram account. So shout out to Green Sonic 2005. I suspect 2005 is his birth year. But Green Sonic, I don't know, maybe he's a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, I don't know. But he certainly he likes speed, which is Sonic the Hedgehog thing, because he likes quick cars. How do I know that? Because normally when somebody follows me on Instagram, I normally send them a thank you message, and then of course in some cases I get a response. I got a response from this guy, and he was keen to know, what have you driven, what's the fastest car you've driven, etc, etc. So that sort of got me thinking about the subject for today's update, that and the fact that I was wearing this shirt, and the more astute of you will know what that represents. In fact, I'm not going to tell you in this video. If you understand what this shirt or this top represents, then comment below and tell me what you've recognized from this. Now, so before I do that, anyway, make sure that you're subscribing. I think if you're watching this on a desktop, I think down here somewhere there's a logo. Hover over the logo, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell button as well, bell notification button, so you get all the updates. Same goes on mobile. I think you don't get the logo, but you scroll up and you know what to do. You know how to do it. Go and do it. Also, don't forget to follow me on all of the social media channels, Instagram. I just mentioned Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, facebook.com/browncarguy, and of course browncarguy.com. Easy to find me, just Google #browncarguy, very easy, I'll come up straight away. Anyway, so this guy was asking me about what's the fastest car you've driven, and I said to him, I've driven an F1 car, I've driven a Bugatti Veyron, so we talked about that, and then he was like, have you driven a Viper? And I'm like, yeah, I've driven a Viper. He said, no, what was the Viper like? He was really interested in this, and I managed to find a little video. I remember I shot a little video. This is going back, it must be 2011, I think, 2010, 2011. We were doing a review of the Dodge Viper in UAE at the time. And we didn't used to do video at that time so much. So it was just I did a bit of photography, and I think my colleague did the write-up on it. And we were out, in some desert roads driving it. And he filmed a little clip of me. So basically, I pulled up in this car. I got out and I was like, I'm terrified of this thing, and then I ran off into the desert. So I'll put a link to that below here if you're watching this on YouTube. So I've just sent him that as well. And it reminded me of the fact that, yeah, it's a scary car, it's a terrifying car, it's a crude car, but boy is it awesome. I mean, low slung, phallic design, and brutal V10 engine in that thing. I mean, absolutely mental. But the thing is, it just reminded me that I have this affection for muscle cars, and in particular American muscle cars. There's just something so charismatic and so cool about them. And we're talking Dodge, and of course Dodge do some amazing cars. Most recently I reviewed the Widebody Charger Hellcat. Oh yeah, that was the new 2019 models, and I reviewed those on Drive Tribe, and again on video as well. So I'll tell you what, I'll put a link to that as well below, so you can check that out. And it's as awesome as I remember. I mean, I've driven Hellcats quite a lot, both in Challenger guys and as Chargers, and they are utterly brutal, utterly bonkers, and just absolutely love them. They are the sort of car that basically, if you drive it down the street, you basically should drive it to the next police station and just hand yourself in. Just lock me away. Because I've got this car, and at some point I'm going to be stupid with it, so you might as well just lock me away now, because it's going to happen. You might as well just take away my license, because I've got this car. Because if you don't, I'm either going to do something silly or I'm going to kill myself. But actually, talking of killing myself, that reminds me. I remember, and that relates to maybe a question that I asked you earlier in this video. I remember one time I did a twin test. Was it a twin test, or did we just happen to have the cars at the same time? I can't remember. This goes back to days of when I was editing the Middle East edition of Car Magazine in the UAE. And my colleague had a Nissan GT-R. At that time it was new, the R35, I think it was newish. And I happened to have a Cadillac CTSV. This is a second generation one with 556 horsepower, and it had a manual gearbox. And we had one other car as well. And we went out on a long drive, and you know, he went. I drove the GTR. I'm a huge admirer of the GTR, but I'm not a fan of it. And the reason being because it does so much for you. You go faster and faster and faster, and it just goes faster and faster and faster. And after a while, you're like, you can't really feel where the limits of that thing are. I mean, I remember driving it down this road at quite some velocity, shall we say, and at the end of it, handing the keys over to my colleague, and he was like, well, don't you want to drive it anymore? I said, look, basically, if I drive this anymore, I will probably kill myself, because at some point I will go too quick for my own abilities and maybe the car's abilities, although I doubt that, but at some point that will happen. Now, interestingly, I was then chasing him in the Cadillac CTSV. And we got again to the end of this road, and I jumped out and I said to him, I said, dude, you were driving that quick. He said, me? He said, I can't believe how quickly you were driving the CTSV. Because consider that the GTR is a technological masterpiece, you know, with all of the electronics and everything that it's got. And the CTSV, particularly that generation, was relatively crude, you know. It's just big muscle, rear wheel drive, and there's a traction button on the steering. I'll come to that in a minute, and a manual gearbox. And I said to the guy, look, I just feel what this car is doing. I feel everything about it. It gives me so much confidence. So much so that I remember we were parked up, and the photographer wanted all the cars to be turned around. It was an empty desert road at the end of a road somewhere, and he wanted to turn all the cars around because we got desert in the background. And I think there were 3 of us, and we were all doing like 3 pointed turns getting around. I jumped in the car, and actually one of the cars was being driven by my then boss at the time, a company director. And I jumped into the CTSV, hit the button on the steering wheel to turn on the traction. First gear, voom, you know, spin turn it right there and landed perfectly. It's one of those fluky moments that I got spot on perfect. And my boss who was there, as I jumped in the car, I said, did you mean to do that? I was like, yeah, come on, you know you're talking to. I think I got a promotion out of that one. So that's why I love that even more. And I just love them. Mustangs, oh my God, every time I've driven a Mustang, I just love it to death. And you know, there's all these videos online about people losing control in Mustangs and stuff like that. But I remember I driving I think it must have been 2015, and we had a twin test between a Camaro SLP. That was a modified version. That's a heck of a beast. And then I had a Roush Stage 3 Mustang, you know. And I remember leaving the show. We went to the other show to pick up the SLP, and then my colleague drove off in the SLP. Oh no, he was still there. He was waiting for me to leave first. And I pull this, you know, and again, I don't recommend this. This was in an industrial area. There was nobody around. But I just wheel span it right out of that junction. Just that, you know, that beautiful arc that all these people leaving car meets are trying to go for and never quite get right. And maybe I couldn't replicate it, but that time it was poetry in motion. It was artwork in action. It was sublime, and I was made up. I was like, look at me in this Mustang, and the thing sounded glorious. But you know, I mean, there's just something about the character and the charisma of those cars. And yeah, you got to accept that, you know, they're not pinned down sports cars, but they're not meant to be. And if they were, that kind of spoils them. That kind of spoils the character and the personality of them. You know, you need them to be a little bit loose. You need them to be a little bit wild, a little bit woo, a little bit way. You know, you need all of that sort of stuff, because that's what gives them the character. And again, come back to the Viper. The character of the Viper was that it was such an intimidating machine. I mean, it was almost a supercar level of performance, but you know, you were like, you need to know what not anybody can jump into a Viper and get the best out of it. Even I can't, but it's like, if you can do a drive in that car that's, you know, quick and then survive, you live to tell the tale. You've lived to tell your grandchildren, and you can be proud of that. And I am. And it burns itself into your memory banks, and it's just absolutely glorious and awesome. Anyway, there's me just reminiscing about my passion and my love for American cars. Some of the links, if I can find them, I'll put them below this video, so go check out the videos with links or articles or whatever. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and make sure you follow, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and tell everybody else to do the same, and make sure you follow me on #BrownCarGuy, and same time tomorrow? Why not?